Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Tuesday, November 23rd, and this is virtual lunch number 440. Our guest today is Tariq Abdullah, the Managing Director for Global Governance and Corporate Affairs Operations at Tyson Foods. And this is part of our continuing series on understanding new law with Calexius. Hey, Tariq, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Ari. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Tar, thanks so much for doing this. Tell us about your background and your role at Tyson Foods.
I was a practicing attorney for a very long time in Kansas City. The last role that I had in Kansas City, quite frankly, got to a point where I was getting maybe a little bored and looking for something new to do, and came down to Northwest Arkansas because Walmart had an opportunity in compliance, not illegal, but in compliance, but leading their HIPAA privacy team. So I came down and worked there in health and wellness compliance for 2 years, then moved over to legal when I was asked to help start a legal operations group at Walmart. So did that starting in 2015. And they were on the same path as Walmart, where they had finally made the decision that they wanted to invest in legal operations, that they wanted to start an operations group, did not have one. They'd actually called me to benchmark initially just to get some ideas and everything. There was someone who used to be at HR at Walmart that had come over to support legal at Tyson. And she recommended to the CLO that, hey, you should talk to Tariq and get some ideas. And so we just had an ongoing conversation and eventually decided to move on over here. We were, like I said, about just 1 year into having a legal operations group. Walmart, at the time, they had almost 5,000 pharmacies, 4,000-ish vision centers, and they were just starting some healthcare clinics as well. They've really expanded on the healthcare clinic side. And so my focus, like I said, was HIPAA compliance for the first year. And then after about a year, I remember the VP, he was the chief compliance officer for health and wellness. I remember him saying to me, like, hey, Tariq, I need you to lead billing compliance for me. And I remember I said, I don't know anything about billing compliance, nor do I want to. And he just laughed. He was like, I know, but you got to do this. And so billing compliance is a huge part of it, right? Ensuring that we're compliant with all state and federal regulations when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid plans. That's a huge part of it. Like I said, HIPAA is a huge part of it. Those are probably the two biggest areas. But then there's all sorts of other stuff as well, especially as you go to physical locations. Every state has different laws around, especially with vision centers, where a door can be inside a store, outside of a store, how far apart the pharmacy has to be from a healthcare clinic. There's all sorts of stuff to get into there. So first of all, I'll say that legal operations is a subset. Walmart had started very much as just legal operations. So the overall chief compliance officer for the company moved from being the chief compliance officer over to legal to become SVP and GC of a whole bunch of stuff. And that was Phyllis Harris, who happens to be a GC at the Red Cross in DC now. To this day, she remains a mentor of mine, one of the best leaders I've ever had. So when she moved over, she decided she was going to start this legal operations team. And she set a meeting with me. Tariq, I've got to work with you a little bit on compliance. And what I can tell is you have some crazy ideas. Because I'd go to her with different things that many of them just completely outside the scope of health and wellness, but I thought were good for the company. And she really appreciated that. And so she said, we've got all this data. We could just maybe use this data to help us make decisions around what law firms we should hire or how we spend our money and all of that.
Thanks, Tariq. I'm very, very excited to listen to you today, especially since I spent 13 years of my career in food and farming. So it's really interesting to get your Tyson perspective. I just wanted to ask, especially from the Tyson perspective, actually, the company is innovating so much at the moment, and you have so many challenges in terms of the future of food and food systems and the value chain. Do you see a big impact between innovation and legal work?
Lots of factors in that. But when you're trying to innovate, right, so part of it is unknown. Innovation, I mean, by definition, right, is typically something new or novel. And so you're getting into an area that either hasn't been explored or is still a very gray space, right? Our legal partners very, very closely with the business units as they look at whether it's a new company that they want to invest in or something that we're innovating in-house to figure out what are going to be the hurdles. What are the things that we need to be wary of, even if it's not being able to provide a, hey, here's the clear guidance. It's a, hey, here's what's in the realm of possibility as we walk down this road, and here are the things that we need to keep in mind as we do. The other thing is we're into a new administration, right? And anytime there's a change in administration, things are going to change. Enforcement and regulatory focus is going to change. That's an adaptation that any company really has to do whenever there's an administration change, and we're no different. I don't know, compliance is a natural feeder to legal operations. Legal is probably more of a feeder to legal operations. It depends on the company and the connection that compliance has to whoever oversees legal operations. I'm not even good at math, but I understand the power of data, and that's how you build a business case, right? That's how you tell a story, is you got to have data. And it's beyond so much more than what's in our matter and spend management system. First of all, is that data even accurate? Do you have the processes of the guardrails around how data is captured, what data is captured to ensure that it's even reliable? That's something that people don't pay enough attention to. What I want overall for the legal department here, and they're going to do this with or without me. The company is doing this with or without me. And that is to be seen as a leader in innovative practice, whether that's in the protein industry broadly or whether it's in just the legal department. And there's so much of it that is still very much mom and pop. The chairman's running around the hallways saying, hi, it's fantastic. People are super accessible. But up until recently, I don't think there was a lot of focus on systems, technology, on true innovation, and being that modern, global, future-ready company. But now there's a laser focus on it. I felt the same way when I went to Walmart. Walmart seemed very much mom and pop, even the Fortune 1. And where are those docs? I don't know. Joe's got them in filing cabinet somewhere. And that was very normal. And they put a very strong focus on innovation and being future ready. That's what Tyson is doing now. So what I want to do with that in mind is mirror what the company is doing. And we've spent the last year building a very strong foundation, which is the hardest part and the part where people are the most impatient and everybody wants everything right at the same time. And I always tell people, it's like, no one wants it more than I do. I guarantee you, no one wants it more than I do. But we've got to do this right. If we build the right foundation, then we'll save ourselves so much headache down the road. And now what I want to do for the future is build that first layer on top of that, right? Really start getting into data, because we'll be capturing the right data and we'll be able to rely on it. And eventually I want to get to the point where we are looked at as the innovators. This is who everybody wants to benchmark with. This is who everyone wants to come and get insight from, because they've done some things right. So ultimately, that's what I want to be. I want us to lead. So practice engagement and innovation is the name of the department or sub-department, right? And mostly what we focus on is the innovation piece. So what we've talked about, and it's typically we just teach part of a course over their winter intersession. So we'll be teaching in January. I'll be teaching with Thomas Su, who's the CEO and co-founder of Legalmation. So what is innovation in a legal department? And for you who are at this top tier law school, so many of you are thinking of going to those big AM law firms. That's what you want to do. How do you set yourself apart? What are firms actually looking for? What should they be looking for? Maybe they're not, but hey, can you actually do project management? That'll be a killer skill for your entire career. The biggest thing that keeps me up at night right now is talent. And not just for my team, but for the entire legal department, compliance, ethics, the entire CLO organization. How do we get the best talent here? And at the end of the day, to me, reality has changed. And we have competitors, we all have competitors that have different ways of being flexible. Just like any other company, we've got to find that right level of flexibility that gives us what we feel we need as far as engagement, productivity, and just integration and connection. But also, are we going to be able to attract the best folks? Or if we're too far to one side where we're saying you have to be here, are a lot of people going to say, well, I'm not going to think about that because I've got 4 other offers and I can stay where I am? Or do we go so far as to say, hey, anyone can work from anywhere forever, and then we're not getting that engagement and teams aren't meshing the way that we want? And it's probably a different solution for each company, and they've got to find their own road. We've got to find some level of flexibility.
Tariq, Abdullah, everybody. Wow, that's fantastic. What a privilege. Thanks to you, and thanks to Calexius for supporting this series on understanding new law.
It was a pleasure. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.